Ozzy is one of my favorite stories because there's so much you can take away from it. Here's somebody who most of the world, most of the church would think is too far gone. Here's somebody who is unreachable, so to speak, but was so open.
There's been so many famous people that have passed recently. Diane Keaton, Malcolm Jamal Warner, Robert Redford, Hulk Hogan.
And then Jerry Seinfeld, he has a quote, and he said it best. We have entered into a one-sided relationship with these people.
Nostalgia is such a powerful thing. And we use, music and movies and pop culture phenomenon that we allowed to enter into our life really in those formative years.
When we see somebody like this passing, it's like a part of us is almost passing.
Hi, I'm Brandon Briscoe, and welcome to The Postscript, Living Faith Bible Institute's weekly podcast and YouTube series that invites listeners into in-depth theological and ministry conversations with pastors, Bible scholars, missionaries, and professors. And if you have been paying attention to the news over the last year in 2025, you have, along with me and many people, have watched many important people from film and from television, from music, politics, and even within the Christian faith, pass away. Important people that are nostalgic to us, people that we watched on TV as we grew up, or people that we've been listening to for quite some time. We've lost many important figures in the American landscape in 2025, and it's affected us. It's stirred us up. I think for many Christians, it's been a call for us to reconsider the impermanence of our lives and our own mortality, and it's caused us to maybe take the gospel a little bit more seriously and our responsibility to be evangelical in our day-to-day lives. Maybe it's prompted you to share the gospel with family members or friends or neighbors in a way that you haven't before. And I think a lot of us have felt this way. On today's show, we are joined once again by Pastor Dylan Novak, known by many of us as the Celebrity Evangelist, who was on the show not too long ago. He wants to sit down with us to talk about how God has been moving in powerful ways this year in his ministry. This year actually marks the 10th anniversary of his ministry to celebrities, people from Hollywood and from movies, people that we're familiar with. He goes to them and he gives them the gospel. And we're going to chat today about how he's seeing a surge in evangelism and how he's watching as people are beginning to take their faith much more seriously. And so with that, we want to invite Pastor Dylan Novak back to the show, man. It's so good to have you here with us. Wasn't that long ago that we were sitting down talking about, your ministry. And so I wanted to have you back on the show to talk about your newest escapades and all the things that God's doing in your life. So thanks for being with us.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me back. It was so much fun. I think that it was it was in April. I'm pretty sure it was in April.
Yeah.
So 6 months.
Which so much, if I've been following your Instagram feed, so much has happened in 6 months in your ministry.
Oh my goodness. It's been a wild year for sure.
Yeah.
But that's a good thing.
It is a good thing. One of the things I wanted to ask you about, we were talking about it a minute ago, was there was a few clips from our last episode that went kind of viral. And one of them was the testimony of you sharing the gospel with Donald Trump. And there were so many different views and different perspectives on that.
It was very interesting to see so many different responses, because on one hand, you had people like you and I, this is encouraging, we need to be praying. Then you had other people just taking up an offense. Oh, this man is saved, when ironically and sadly, you and I,
Right.
I'm sure you've seen the videos of him recently saying, I don't think I'm heaven bound. I don't think I'm going to go to heaven, which if you look at my social media, Facebook more than Instagram, the comments, I'll just be honest, they make me mad, because people are like, he's being funny. I'm like, well, I'm missing the punchline. When is eternity something to make a joke about? I think this is a man being very humble, being very candid, saying, I don't have that assurance of salvation. And I do think it's disturbing that this is a man who is so surrounded by spiritual advisors, so to speak. And I'm not saying that these people aren't doing their job, because you know as well as I do, we can preach to the same person for 10 years and then suddenly them come to the born again awakening moment. And we're like, where have you been for 10 years? Oh, they just said it so clearly. I've been saying that for a decade. But
Right.
But in all reality, in all sadness, though, I think that so many people have created an image, almost an idolatry image of Donald Trump, where they are willing to take up that offense that no, 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 I can't go back on what I said about this great man. So instead of humbling myself to pray, instead of acknowledging this as a man in need of a savior, I'm going to instead defend his salvation, which I don't know about you. I've never seen anybody do that before.
No.
It's
Yeah,
disturbing.
he's a very polarizing figure, and people feel very strongly about him. And
Mhm.
man, people either want to believe that he's saved, or people want to believe that he's the devil incarnate. And
Right.
so everybody takes a side, and that video proved it. I mean, that video was evidence that all you were doing was sharing very plainly a testimony of how you had an interaction with him that was
Right.
positive, that you got to share the gospel. And man, it was funny to watch how people responded.
It's not just Donald Trump. I'll get every now and then somebody taking up an offense for a
Mm-hmm.
celebrity. Well, they didn't ask for you to share. Jesus didn't say go get consent to share the gospel. He said go into
Right.
all the world, preach the gospel. Then you also get people who take up an offense of saying, well, I think this person is saved. Again, I don't know about you. I've never gotten offended when somebody has shared the gospel with me. I
Right.
was traveling to Virginia Beach to preach a few weeks ago, and this young man gave me a tract. I wasn't offended. I was excited. And I just told him over and over, thank you so much for caring about my soul, where I was going to spend
Mm-hmm.
eternity. Thank you for sharing Jesus with this crowd of people here in Virginia Beach.
Right.
And just a week or so ago, we had a festival in our town, and there was a lady, and I don't know what organization she was with. I saw several people with her, and she was handing out Bibles, and I happily took it and said, thank you so much for what you're doing. And that just opened the conversation for me to talk with some of my youth students who also saw her doing this. I said, never ever be that person to go, oh no, I have one, because you're going to discourage somebody. Instead,
Mm-hmm.
take that Bible, give it to somebody else yourself.
Right. Yeah.
Keep it going. I said, and guess what? There were some Bibles sitting there on the street when I saw everybody packing up. But you know what? There were hundreds. I know for a fact, hundreds that went home with somebody. We should
Mm-hmm.
never be offended. We should instead be thankful that somebody cared about us and inspired to go and do the same thing ourselves.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that the believers need to keep in mind is that you should never assume anybody knows Christ as their savior. I mean,
No,
I apply that principally even with my own children. Like, I don't ever want to assume just because they've made a profession of faith, even, or that they can articulate the terms of the gospel, that they're saved.
no, you can't.
Um, I mean, people that you love, that you care for, you want to continue to challenge their faith and provoke them to exercise their salvation with fear and trembling. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I
And
mean,
you don't want to put words in someone's mouth either.
right, yeah. So,
Yeah,
I guess the long and the short of it is that we need to continue to pray for our president and hope that
absolutely.
he comes to a place where he can clearly acknowledge what it means to know Christ. So there's so much going on. You're one of the busiest people I know.
Yeah, I feel that
So
way right now.
yeah, I bet. Tell folks what you've been doing recently in ministry. And I'm sure that there are a lot of people who didn't catch our last episode together.
Mhm.
Take a minute right here to just tell us what Celebrity Evangelist is, what it is that you're doing, and then tell us what you've been up to.
Yeah, so Celebrity Evangelist Ministries, it's I'm not the celebrity at all. I am evangelizing two celebrities. I always try to clarify that. It started when really God started pulling my heart this direction when I was 13, going to a Comic Con. I took some tracks to a Comic Con, and for 7 years, I would just go to these events, the things that I wanted to go to. And then in 2015, it became a full blown ministry. And since then, we've been able to reach over 2,000 celebrities with the gospel, along with many other people in the process. Because that's one thing also that people will comment a lot lately. What about, quote, regular people? Well, they're involved just as much. We're at these Comic Cons talking to these people in line. Again, you're stuck with these people.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a captive audience.
Right.
Obviously, I say that, and I'm not the weird guy just standing there screaming at people either.
Mm-hmm.
But it has truly been incredible. This year has, without a doubt, been the biggest year of the ministry. Not just in the sense of the doors that have been opened, but just the response we've had from people, from souls reaching out, the continued communication of um, hearing back from people, the death of so many prolific celebrities this year,
Right.
Ozzy
Yeah.
Osbourne being the biggest one. The biggest encouragement to me was seeing the rock and roll community coming to our email, coming to our social media, asking for information, people asking for Bibles, people asking
Wow.
questions about salvation. I'm like, this is it right here. This is what the ministry is. And I had
Hmm.
somebody message me, and it made me sad. They said, I have some questions. I'd love to know Jesus. I know I'm not a celebrity, but if you have the time, I'm like, I don't care if you're a celebrity or not. This is a ministry for souls. That'd be like
Mm.
going to a missionary from Uganda coming here to the States and somebody saying, hey, I know you only care about people from Uganda, but can I ask some
Right.
questions? It's like, no, I'm
Yeah.
a missionary to people. Just because I have a specific demographic doesn't mean that I completely forget about everybody else. It's
Yeah.
a ministry for people. So it's this year has really, really blown up. And my wife and I, we've talked a lot about it. I've been doing this for 10 years. We've been together for 7 years.
Yeah. This is your 10th
And
year anniversary, right? Of this
yes,
ministry. Yeah.
yep, July was 10 years. And we never really saw much growth. Not that we were looking for, I'm trying to think of the right word, traction or whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't
Hmm.
care about anybody knowing about me, but it's been so encouraging this year, the outpour of people praying, the continued doors being opened, either through churches bringing me out to preach. I mean, even then, it's like, okay, I'm traveling to, like, here in a couple weeks, I'll be preaching in New Jersey, and it's right across the river from New York City. And they were like, oh, we
Hmm.
have this parsonage type apartment that you can stay in for free, and I'm going to spend a week in New York City. Financially, that wouldn't have been possible because it's a lot of money to go to New York City,
Right.
even for a day.
Yeah.
Um, and I've even told my wife, I'm like, there are so many times I'm like, I'd love to do a quick round trip flight from here to New York, hit up a few things, and come back. The biggest issue is always hotels for the most part because it is
Hmm.
so expensive. But I'm like, now that God's opening this door, that's becoming more possible. And that's all through attention being brought to the ministry. And
Yeah.
honestly, you guys really helped the ministry
Oh,
earlier
praise the
this year.
Lord.
I can't tell you how many people, how many emails I got from people saying, hey, I heard you on the postscript. I'd love to hear more information about this ministry. So I can't thank you guys enough.
Man, that's a God thing, bro. I'm glad to give you
Absolutely.
the platform, but man, the Lord used it to get the ministry exposure. And I'm curious, when you go to a place like New York, do you already have places kind of scoped out that you're going to go where celebrities might be? I mean, I know your responsibility is going to be to preach at this church, but if you're
Right.
going to be there for a week, are there places that you want to hit up?
Oh, absolutely. So the church that I'm preaching at, they're doing a little special dinner thing on Saturday night, just opening up to the community. I'll preach a devotion. And then, of course, regular Sunday morning services. But I'm there Friday through Wednesday. Um, the biggest place I'm going to be hitting up is Broadway. It is very easy to meet people on Broadway
Mm,
because it's the custom for the stars to come out, sign the little programs from the play, and go on. So it's very good accessibility.
hmm.
There's several people going to be there: Neil Patrick Harris, James Corden. Trying to think of a couple of others: Jesse Eisenberg. Keanu Reeves is on Broadway, but it has looked like absolute chaos. I know Inside Tonight just featured a video of this woman trying to jump in his car. Like, I mean, it's another level, and it. I hate to say it's funny because obviously this woman is mentally deranged, but she was screaming, "I am your divine wife," and I'm like, well, that's
Oh
crazy.
my.
That's
Wow.
crazy. And Keanu, and here's really what it comes down to. And there's other places like I'll be scoping out who's on the Today Show, who's on Stephen Colbert. Some of these places where it's like, okay, you're going to be coming right here. I'll wait.
Right.
And I know the movie premiere for Wicked is going to be going on when I'm up there. And I was just telling my wife that last night, and I said, I really don't know what I'm going to do because I'm praying. I never go into a city or an event and go, let me find the most famous, prolific thing. No. I go for who God leads me to, who I feel is going to be the most receptive, who I can have a conversation with, whether that is a very high prolific person or not. If I can get to everybody at an event, that's great, but that's very rarely the case. And it's so funny because, like right now, again, this is just a testimony of how much the ministry has grown. We've been posting once a day pretty much all year, and I still have people that I'm witness to in June that I've not posted. And
Wow.
I don't want to just do a giant dump, if that makes sense, on social media, because you and I both know the algorithm will get clogged down. And I'm like, well, the person who's a D-list celebrity just deserves just as much attention as the A-list star for people to pray for. And again, it is funny. This is my jadedness. I'll post somebody like Seth MacFarlane, and everyone's like, oh my goodness, praying, 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 praying. And then I'll post, most people don't even know who Jeff Garcia is. He is Sheen from Jimmy Neutron. And people are like, oh, whoever that guy is, and whatever. And I'm like, Jeff, first of all, was more receptive. Second of all, he's just as important as Seth.
Sure.
But all right.
Sure. Well, I think this is a good chance to just tell people that they should be following you on Instagram and on Facebook, because what you're doing is you're posting these interactions that you're having. You're posting these pictures, and you're giving us basically a highlight of who they are, a short bio of who they are spiritually, things that they've said about spiritual things, about God, about faith, about the Bible. And then you're telling us how the interaction went and what you got to share. And it is a chance for someone to even just see that and stop and briefly have a 30-second, 1-minute conversation with the Lord over that soul. It is a wonderful and peculiar reminder to pray for people. And most of the people that you meet, I have no idea who they are.
Dude, if it weren't for the ministry, half of these people I wouldn't know.
Yeah, right. So there's so many people who've been involved in Hollywood and in the industry, and they're at these conferences, and for someone, they're a big deal. Like for someone, the guy that voiced some character on a cartoon from the 80s is like a huge deal, right? Like, but not for everybody.
No, and that's always an interesting thing. You go to these events, and it's almost like a game I play in my mind. Who's going to be the biggest line? Who's going to be the biggest draw? And I've gotten to a point I'm pretty good. I know who's rare and whatnot, because there are, just being honest, not in any way dissing on somebody's career, but some people that I'm like, I could care the less about this person, and people are losing their mind.
Yeah, they have huge fan base.
No, like
some
I'll
weird cult following.
Yes, I'll tell you one that's funny. Lyman Ward. I don't know if you know who he is. Yeah, exactly. No offense to Lyman. He's in his 90s. He's an old Hollywood actor. He played the dad in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. People were losing their mind. You know what's funny? I know him from one movie and one movie only. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. He's the guy at the very beginning of the movie. You'll never make the 6. And I'm like, oh, I love that guy. And I referenced that to him. I was like, just so you know, this is how I know you. And he smiled so big. He said, that was so much fun to do. And he said,
man.
And, he shared a couple Steve Martin stories, and it was great. But yeah, no, that is a movie that doesn't get talked about enough. And everybody online, they're talking Ferris Bueller. And I'm like, I've never seen Ferris Bueller.
You haven't?
No, never have.
That is kind of wild. Now, I will say, Ferris Bueller is one of the most overhyped movies of the 80s.
See, that's what gets me. It's kind of like The Breakfast Club. And a friend of mine who grew up in the 80s, he said, it was a moment in time. If you were there, you got it. If you weren't there, it's not like Footloose. I watched Footloose the other day, and I'm like, oh, this is still a masterpiece. This is wonderful. Uncle Buck.
I can't get down with any movie that's about dancing. I can't.
But it's got K-Bake in it.
No, I am the dad. I'm the dad in that movie. The old Baptist pastor.
Mr. Lithgow.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I don't understand dancing. It doesn't make sense to me. I did it when I was young. I just don't understand the appeal. I'm old.
I'll tell you something real funny, really quick funny about Footloose. So one of the first celebrities I witnessed to once it became a full-time ministry was Kevin Bacon.
Mm.
And I was still figuring everything out. I didn't have his gift in a gift bag. I had a Bible, and I had his letter inside the Bible with the tracks, like, just like stuffed in there like a bookmark. And I'm holding it out to him. There was a crowd, and he started to sign the Bible. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. This is a gift. He said, I thought it was a
Wow.
Footloose prop. And I was like, oh my gosh, no. Now he got a good laugh out of it. He said, I really hope I didn't disrespect you. I said, no. He said, you can see why I thought that. I said, 100%. And that's actually when I was like, I should probably put these in a bag.
It is so interesting because that movie it's a critique of a stereotype of our faith.
And I don't think it was overly disrespectful. I know that's probably a hot take because really I've seen a lot of fundamentalism, legalistic people that are very much like that. And I'm sitting there with my wife where John Lithgow slaps his daughter. And I'm like, see, to me, you are not qualified to be a pastor. If you can't be controlling your house and you're lashing out in anger like that, there's other sin problems that are a bigger deal than some people dancing.
Right. No, that's the thing is whenever I watch it, for me, I'm so obsessed with the dynamic of like, this portrayal of Christianity that I have a hard time focusing on the narrative of the story. I mean, honestly, the only thing I remember is the tractor game of chicken. That's the thing that stands out to me. That and just the terrible pastor dad. But
and then at the same time, towards the end of the movie, they almost redeemed him, showed some respect. Again, I didn't feel like it was an attack on Christianity at all. I think it was more on that stereotype, like you said.
Sure.
Hey, this is Jonathan Kindler, counselor at Sound Mind, professor at the Living Faith Bible Institute, and a pastor here in Kansas City at Midtown Baptist Temple. And I am your host for Sound Mind, a podcast where we take a deeper look at life through a biblical lens.
Processing Sound Mind.
Strong's G 4995. Sofranis mas.
Admonition, calling to soundness. Free from fear's grip. Reset. Power. Love. And soundness.
Sound Mind has already walked through 21 conversations on faith, struggle, and clarity, and I'd love for you to walk through the next one with us. We live in a world where fear is loud, but God has not given us a spirit of fear. He's given us power and love and a sound mind. And when we live from that place, we can walk through life with clarity, peace, and purpose. This podcast is about seeing life through a biblical lens. Grief, anxiety, identity, our calling, what's happening in our world today, and how we can lead others. Honest conversations about the stuff we all face. As a counselor and fellow traveler on planet Earth, I'm here to walk it with you. So if you're looking to grow in your faith and to navigate this world with wisdom, join the conversation at Sound Mind, wherever you listen.
Man, so you have been super busy, right? Like just you've met so many people. You mentioned a few months ago that Ozzy Osbourne passed away, and that was huge. It was such an incredible response. Those things only last a few weeks at best, because the way social media is and how, fractured we are as a people. But there was a lot of conversation about Ozzy Osbourne, about his life, about his career, and a lot of stuff about his faith. And there were a lot of people that were moved by your videos specifically. I saw a lot of comments and attention being brought to the videos. Tell us a little bit about your interactions with Ozzy Osbourne.
So Ozzy, and I'm not just saying this because truly that is what helped catapult this ministry. Ozzy is one of my favorite stories because there's so much you can take away from it. You can take away, here's somebody who most of the world, most of the church would think is too far gone. Here's somebody who is unreachable, so to speak, but was so open. What I didn't realize, this is just a fun factoid, In 2017, Jack, which is Ozzy's son, and Ozzy took a cross-country road trip across the United States into Winnebago. And one of the places they went was the Ark. And Ken Ham got to meet them, lead them around. And Ken Ham made a video. And he was saying that Ozzy was very inquisitive about creation, about God, about everything. And I'm like, again, we would write off Ozzy for being that guy when really, I'm telling you, I've met some really clean cut, put together people who are as anti God as you get. And then here's Ozzy being like, I want to know more.
Yeah.
So to tell the story, Ozzy was doing an autograph signing up around Philadelphia. That was a very rare thing. It was in a convention style setting, and I knew I have to take this chance. I have to take this opportunity. I'll have people message and say, "Do you think it's wrong for me to like classic rock?" And here's what I tell them: if the message is against the Lord, then absolutely. But I'm not going to demonize an entire style of music just because, again, there's a certain stereotype or whatever.
Right.
I this one guy messaged me. It was a really sweet message. He's like, "I love Kiss." And I was like, yeah, me too. And he said, he's like, "These are my favorite songs, but I question, is it wrong that I like these songs?" Those were 3 songs I liked. And I said, let me tell you something that an old Sunday school teacher of mine told me. And I think it is amazing advice. Those are married songs. Those are songs that when you're married, you can think about your wife while you listen to them. If you're a single person or you're living ungodly, then you shouldn't be listening to them because they make you think things that you shouldn't think. So, and he was like, "That's a really good point." And I said, "Yeah, that's just my take." Again, not that I am promoting to make overtly sexual music. I don't want anybody to grab that and run with it. But again, I'm not one of these people who it's like, oh, this music's of the devil and everybody in it. It's like there are people who say AC/DC stands for against Christ or whatever. I forget AC/DC.
Oh man, there's so much, dude. I can't even tell you. I mean, I grew up in churches like this where everything was the devil, everything was the devil and
same here.
Devilish messaging and no, I mean, these are just lost people making music.
I wish people would look into the Bible to understand the meaning of the scriptures as much as they look into trying to find the meaning of evil in Taylor Swift or AC/DC.
There are people at home playing songs backwards and they are completely unfamiliar with, the book of 1 Timothy.
I saw a video of the AC/DC back when they were, I don't want to say kids, they were probably around my age. And Angus Young is just sitting there. He said, "It means electricity. It was on the back of my sister's sewing machine. It means power. It's just something that looked cool." And I'm like, right, but people read into things too much.
Right.
So anyway, Ozzy, and I'll say this, there are a lot of things around Ozzy that I'm like, yeah, I'm not a fan of this. Like I took a bunch of people's stuff to get signed when I went to this thing, because that's the only way that we're able to afford going to these things. You see that on our website, Join the Mission. All these autographs are pay per item. They're there to make money. And one of my good friends who's a hardcore autograph collector, he and I had a big conversation. He's like, there's a lot of my collection that now that I'm pulling it out, I don't want to get it signed because it's like Diary of a Madman. There's a cross upside down. There's imagery that was like, yeah, this is a little dark. And I'm like, yeah, that's why I would not get that signed. It was a very good maturing moment between me and my friend. But again, I've been around evil. I've seen what true evil is in the industry as well. Ozzy was not evil. And that was one comment that Jack made that we'll get to. So I'm going to this event. I call a couple of my buddies because it cost well over $1,000 to even get in the door. And I was like, hey, we got to split this thing, guys. I'll take your all stuff. I'll put in the work. And so it was a green light. It was go. One of the things Ozzy had said spiritually in 2014 with The Guardian was, I identify as a Christian more than anything else. When he was asked, where do you stand spiritually? And he said, I would love to read the Bible, but it's written in a language that I can't understand. And a lot of people have asked me, well, what do you think he meant by that? I think it was pretty simple and clear what he meant by that.
He's done a lot of acid.
Yes. I'm like, this
Yeah,
is a man who snorted fire ants, guys.
yeah.
Just,
Yeah,
do I really need to explain this?
right.
But so I got him a Bible,
Mm.
and it was really funny. The Bible bookstore that I got it done at, they will announce over the intercom the name of the Bible when it's done.
Oh
So,
gosh.
oh yeah, Ozzy Osbourne, your Bible is ready, and I'm like, oh gosh, this is this is weird. The
Everybody was
fu-
looking around, you know.
I got some looks.
Yeah.
The funniest one ever though was I go to Mardell Christian bookstores now. They're phenomenal. I got one done for Rob Schneider there. This is
Mm,
back before Rob became a Christian,
right.
and they announced over the intercom, Rob Schneider, your Bible is ready. And this guy walked over to the counter with me, and he goes, is he out in the car? I said, what are you talking about? I was so confused. And he
Right.
goes, is Rob here? I said, oh, no, no, no. So where's Rob going to be? I said, Nashville, in which we were like 2-3 hours from Nashville. And he
Hmm.
goes, so do you work for him? No. Oh, then how are you going to get it to him? I'm just going to wait on him. Oh, that's weird. And just walked away. I was like, okay, you really think the ministry is weird.
Right.
But so with Ozzy, go up there. And I expected it to be cattle call. I expected it to be just, let's run through here as quick as possible. That wasn't how it was. Ozzy took his time with everybody. He was so kind. They tried to start rushing it, and then he made the comment, people have flown in from all over the world. I want to actually meet these people. And he
Hmm.
stayed well over 5 hours after the show closed. I mean, I'm saying all this just to show this is not just some crazy, mean, evil person.
Yeah,
He was a sweet
people
guy.
loved him. He was endearing. I mean, obviously, I watched when I was like in high school. I watched like a couple of episodes of the Osborne show on
Oh yeah.
MTV, and it was. I mean, I hate reality TV. It was absolute garbage. But you could see, even in the show, that he wasn't the persona that he carried. Obviously, he was leveraging the whole Lord of Darkness thing
Right.
to make money and to have a shtick. But he was a kind person
He
for
was.
sure.
And again, kindness doesn't save somebody,
No.
but I do like to make that very clear because and I think a lot of people, like you're saying, they know it because of the Osborne show, which
Hmm.
I've also said this to people since his passing. If you could have a quote reality TV show of a lot of these rockers and people in the entertainment industry, you'd see a lot of these guys they're just normal people. I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, you've got some weirdos out there. No doubt about that. I've got weirdos here in my hometown. There's weirdos in every walk of life.
Sure, of course.
But that show really humanized him and made a lot of people sympathize, like, oh man, he's a sweet guy.
Hmm.
So again, I'll be the first person to tell you if somebody's fake or not. Because I
Right.
cannot stand hypocrisy. It was real. That was really who he was. So
Hmm.
I had the platform to say everything I wanted to say to him. And I told him, yeah, again, my opening line I like to say a lot of times. Now, the reason I came to meet you is because I love and care about you and your soul. And I told him, I read this interview and I wanted to get you this. Again, we're just turning the conversation. He grabbed the Bible. He flipped right to the Gospels, immediately started thumbing through, reading it, and he smiled so big. And he said, I can understand this. And so
Hmm.
we got to have a conversation. He thanked me profusely. I mean, promised, I'll be looking into all of this. I'm really excited to look at it. Which, again, I said I'm jaded. I'm still that way because I mean there are people this year who are like I'm going to call you tomorrow. Never happened.
Hmm.
So and then there are some who do follow through. So I'm like I really do hope you're excited to look at this. So then you go into the next room and that's where Sharon, Kelly, and Jack were. Sharon and Kelly were nice, not overly talkative. I'll say this: Kelly would kill somebody for her dad. I mean that girl loved her dad.
Mm.
Ozzy would have to get up to go to the bathroom, which we all know now how bad Ozzy's Parkinson's was, how he was having a hard time. And there was this, and she got up to help him go to the bathroom. And I was standing there, and this guy started mocking him. So this guy kind of did the little Ozzy thing. She got right in his face and cussed him up one side down the other. And I'm just standing there,
Whoa.
my eyes were huge. I was like, oh my goodness, you don't need a
Whoa.
bodyguard. He's just standing there, Kelly, come back over here. But Sharon and Kelly, very nice. Jack, I got to talk with him for about half an hour. He has a show called Portals to Hell. And I was like, I really want to talk to him and kind of dive into what that means.
Mm-hmm.
So we start having a conversation. He said, really, I'm just looking for spirituality. I'm looking for truth. If I made a TV show that was called Looking for God or Looking for Spirituality with Jack Osbourne, nobody cares. Portals to Hell, that's going to sell. That's going to get people's attention.
Yeah,
And
just
I
like
said,
his dad.
well, that's what I told him. I said, so you're just like your dad. He said, exactly. I'm capitalizing on a brand that sells. And he said, that's the thing that Dad did. Dad, back in the Black Sabbath days, that's when horror movies started. He was like, how can we separate ourselves to stand apart, to look different? You know, the same things Christians should do when looking at the world. How can we be different than the world?
Mm-hmm.
And so they went with the horror element. And Tony Iommi was really the one who looked into the black magic, witchcraft, and all of that evil. It wasn't so much Ozzy. Again, that's just, you know, I've read Tony's book. I'd love to share the gospel with him one day, but it's terrifying, some of the stuff. But so people started to attach that image to Ozzy. So when Ozzy went solo after Black Sabbath kicked him out, and he was just trying to do the shock factor thing to get people, oh man, you won't believe what Ozzy did. You got to go see him. And then, of course, the biting the head off of a bat, he didn't realize, he thought it was a prop. And then it was like, I'm just going to continue to go with this because people are buying it. And so I was like, yeah. And Jack even said, thank you for acknowledging Dad's not evil. I said, no, your dad's a teddy bear. He said he is.
Yeah.
He is a grandpa. And if you go back and look on social media after he passed, some of the photos and videos of him with his grandkids and everything, I was like, that was John Michael Osbourne right there. That's the real man right there. So anyway, and he wrote down on a piece of paper, he's like, here are all of the things for you to look into that I've been looking into spiritually. So if we ever cross paths again, I'll look at what you gave me. You look at what I told you to look into, and then maybe we can exchange notes. Well, 2 weeks later, I was going to be at the same show as Jack, but I was like, I don't want to seem like the weird stalker guy. Because again, it was on the other side of it was almost completely on the opposite side of the country. And I'm like, you don't want to come across too strong.
Right.
So, anyway, I'm at that show. It's in Kentucky. And I told Morgan, I said, because I did brush up on some of the things he told me. I said, I don't want to come across too strong. If a door's opened, it'll be opened. Just praying that if it's God's will, we'll talk. So I'm waiting on him. I'm waiting on Richard Dreyfuss. And somebody taps me on the shoulder. And it's Jack. And his booth was probably 50, 100 feet away. He said, were you in Philadelphia last week? I said, I was. He said, I thought I recognized your jacket. It was the Danny Gokey Love God, Love People jacket. And he said, do you have any idea how much Dad loved the Bible you gave him? I said, no. He said, if you got a moment, come over to my table. I said, oh, I got a moment. And so went over there with his wife. His wife's a very sweet lady too. He said, so the show closed and we're putting Dad in the elevator to go up to his suite. And so the way this convention worked, it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but Ozzy was only going to be there Friday and Sunday. He was going to take all day Saturday to just rest. So he said, we're putting him up in the suite. And he said, before he gets in the elevator, he goes, where's my Bible? I need my Bible. And he said, everyone's faces are like, what in the world? And he said, and I put two and two together pretty quickly. I was like, Dad, it's in the autograph room. We'll get it tomorrow. Don't worry about it. No, I want it right now. Okay. Because he said, there's no arguing with that. He's stubborn. Just do it. And he said, so we go down there, we unlock everything, we get his Bible, we bring it back to him. And he goes, but there was other stuff. Go get it too. So he said, we go back down, we get everything. Dad, you happy? I'm happy now. He said, we put him up in his room. He said, the next day at lunch, that was the whole topic of conversation with our family. He said, Ozzy is showing us, look at my Bible. I can understand this. And I've been reading it. I've been looking at it. And he said, then mom was like, oh, I got something like that. Kelly, I got something like that. And Jack's like, oh my goodness, we all got something. And he said, one thing I loved, he said, I don't know about anybody else. I read everybody's letter. And I love that it wasn't like, here's this copy and paste thing to everybody. It was individualized for each of us. And he said that has become one of Dad's most prized possessions. He said it is on his bedside table. Anytime somebody comes over to the house, he's yelling at Mom, go get my Bible. I want to show them, have a conversation about it. And he said, my dad doesn't keep many gifts. He's not a hoarder. And most of the gifts he gets is really weird stuff. And I'm like, I can only imagine. He said, but that, all of your stuff, he said the Bible is on his bedside table. Everything else is in like the bedside cabinet. And I was like, I'm tearing up as he's telling me this. And he said, I just wanted to let you know that really had an impact on him, had an impact on me. And I really appreciate that. And so we talked a little bit more. And so Ozzy did his final concert. And I told Morgan, I said, this would be a really good time to make like a recap video and I need to be better at sharing older stories. Like a lot of people recently have been asking me, have you ever shared the gospel with Tim Curry? Because he just wrote an autobiography talking about his search for God. And I met Tim 7 years ago, and I'm like, yeah, I should probably repost that because people need that refreshing. So I thought this would be a really good time with Ozzy to do that. Have a lot of people praying. It blew up. I would have never dreamed it would blow up. It has reached, as of right now, 500,000 people. Wow. And the responses on that video, like it reached like half a Skillet commented on it, which to me made me very happy. I love Skillet.
Right. Yeah, you're a huge Skillet fan. I knew that.
And I was just blown away the amount of people. I'm praying for him. Oh my goodness, I felt him on my heart. I should pray for him. I never thought to pray for him. Little did we know that when he passed away, it had reached, I think it was 150,000 people, something like that. And I'm like, oh my goodness, there were thousands of people praying for Ozzy his very last days.
Wow, yeah.
That was incredible. That was a God thing. Right. And then that is where everything became beautiful. I use this to tell my students all the time. If you don't surrender your life to God, God will use you, but you'll miss out. Again, I don't know where Ozzy is. I pray that he's in heaven. I pray that he accepted Christ. I feel better about him than I do some other people. But here's what I do know. Ozzy didn't live a life here on this earth that was pointing to Christ, but his death pointed to Christ. Because I'm not exaggerating when I say we had hundreds of rock and roll fans being like, oh my goodness, I thought it was too late for me. If it wasn't too late for Ozzy to maybe accept Jesus, I guess it must not be too late for me. Can you send me material? Can I ask you some questions? And messages of people saying, I accepted Jesus because of this. I saw your video, and then I have posted on my website, posted on my pages how to be saved. And they were like, I accepted Christ. And we were getting people plugged in with local area churches. And I'm like, this is what we prayed the ministry to be. And since then, like I said, that really brought a lot of attention to the ministry. A lot of people jumped on board, but we've been seeing more and more people reaching out, like even the passing of Ace Frehley a couple of weeks ago, which is heartbreaking. I'm seeing a lot of people reach out about that. And just before I jumped on the call with you, Eddie Trunk, who is big with the rock and roll music radio, he posted a picture of, what's the little booklet when you go to somebody's funeral? You know what I'm talking about, like the obituaries on.
A memorial thing.
Yes, and it's some verses from the Bible, some scripture from the Bible talking about Christ. And I was like, and I shared it on my story. I was like, even, again, I don't know where Ace is spiritual. I don't know where his soul is. I know he was searching for God. He was very open to God. But here we are, hundreds of thousands of people reading this scripture from his side. Hundreds of thousands of people maybe thinking about Jesus. Right. Let's keep that going.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm John Wright. I'm a teaching elder at Living Faith Elite Summit, and I just want to encourage all of you that are considering or maybe just now starting to participate in LFBI to either continue in it or to sign up. It has been such a blessing in my life. I already graduated from kind of a 4-year institute many years ago, but as I got into the Living Faith Fellowship, I was drawn to the classes there because I felt like I still need to continue to learn. I need to sit at the feet of some wise men and hear from them, to be reminded of truths or have truths just reaffirmed in the scriptures. And man, I've been so blessed by taking classes here. I encourage you to do so. One of my favorite classes was Worldview and Biblical Reasoning. I believe it made me a better evangelist in terms of understanding the mindset of the world and how to biblically counter that with apologetics. I've been so blessed by taking classes here. I encourage you to do so. If you're just curious, there's auditing, or you can take the full course with everything. I encourage you to do as God leads you. Check it out at lfbi.org.
Yeah, it's great, man. I mean, and you said it, it's like, there's been so many famous people that have passed recently: Diane Keaton, Malcolm Jamal Warner, Robert Redford, Hulk Hogan, just so many people this year. It's pretty incredible, big names. Yeah. And I think that there's maybe just a general public grief that's taking place, and it stirs hearts towards the gospel.
Absolutely.
And so we've got, obviously you said you've kind of seen people responding in a way that they never have. What does that look like, particularly in light of the loss of Charlie Kirk? Like, what does that look like? I mean, that seems to have really created a ton of upheaval in people's lives. But all of these things kind of have compounded. What do you think's happening?
So I think one of the biggest reasons people are grieving people in the public eye, like Diane Keaton, Ace Frehley, Ozzy, Hulk, we've welcomed these people into our home. That's really how we have to stop and look at it. Because I remember my mom, when I was a kid and my sister was so little, she was reading this thing. It's like two kids. When they're looking at the TV, it's like, whatever is there, that is in my house. That is right here in front of me. That is reality to me. Mm-hmm. And I've always thought that. And I've always kept that in mind. And then Jerry Seinfeld, he has a quote, and he said it best. We have entered into a one-sided relationship with these people. Mm-hmm. And he said, I have people running up to me, oh my goodness, I love you. And he said, I'm just like, okay, cool. I have no idea who you are, but I love you. I don't know you. You have created an image of me in your mind. That's great. That's a character, but it's not me. We've attached these people to memories, whether that is music or a movie, a first date. These people have become a part of our lives, whether we realize it, whether we acknowledge it or not. And when we see somebody like this passing, it's like a part of us is almost passing. Yeah. I know that sounds weird to say, but then with these bigger names, I think what it's doing is it's just bringing the reality of death is coming.
Yeah.
Death is not a respecter of persons.
Yeah. It's almost like what you're saying is like, it's like losing a family member. I mean, nostalgia is such a powerful thing. And we use, music and movies and whatever pop culture phenomenon that we allowed to enter into our life at really in those formative years. 12, 13, 14, your teenage years, they form you, and those things don't really go away no matter how much your life changes. And so it does feel, when you lose these associations, when people pass away, it's a little like losing a family member. And, and I don't think you can help but to grieve. When Hulk Hogan passed away, I haven't watched WWF or WWE wrestling in like 30 years, right? It's been a long time since I was interested in what's happening in professional wrestling. But when Hulk Hogan passed away, my mom texted me and she said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, honey, to hear about Hulk Hogan." And I'm like, yeah, actually I am kind of sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, for whatever reason. No,
Right. And
you're
the
right.
good thing
It is kind of sad.
The good thing about Hulk is the last years of his life, he became a very outspoken, born again Christian, inviting
Mhm.
people publicly on Joe Rogan, Howard Stern, and different places. Come to my church. I'd love to meet you. Come hear about Jesus. And I'm like,
Mm,
that's amazing. And
yeah.
I think circling back to Charlie Kirk, I think one of the biggest reasons people were grieving Charlie is that was our brother in Christ.
Mhm.
We did have a connection with him through the body of Christ. And I think it just really was a spiritual awakening for a lot of people. I know I've still not been the same. It's almost been 2 months. And I mean, I remember when it happened. I was sitting in the church van. I was going through the car wash getting ready for Wednesday night. And like 5 of my kids texted me. They just gotten out of school. Charlie Kirk got shot. And because my kids love him. And
Mhm.
I loved him and still do. He's a huge role model to me. And unfortunately, I went digging looking for the video because curiosity killed the cat. I was
Right.
like, all right, hopefully I can, what I was looking for is, like for example, the news headlines with Donald Trump when there was the assassination attempt. Donald Trump got shot, and then as soon as you saw the video, it's like, oh, dude's okay. Praise the Lord, he's
Mhm.
fine.
Mhm.
So I was looking for that with Charlie, and unfortunately saw the video, and I was like, "There's
That
no
was
coming back."
terrifying. It was awful.
It is still scarred in my mind. I'm a very squeamish person. I'll just be very transparent.
Mhm.
Um, not just squeamish, but just I've never seen somebody die like that. And again, like I said, in a sense, it was in front of me,
Mhm.
and I'm sitting down here. At that point, I was down here in the office, and I'm trying to get ready for Wednesday night. And I had to change shirts because I was just pouring in sweat. I was just in shock. And um, that Wednesday night, we didn't cancel services. We just had a giant prayer meeting because as soon as we walked in the church, half my youth kids are grabbing me crying, and I'm right there with them. But the reason I think that it's been so powerful is because, and here's what I told the kids: evil was unmasked. Not
Mhm.
just the shooter, but we saw a lot of evil in this world. And I saw a meme on the internet because you know how prophetic memes can be.
Right.
But it said last year I saw who would be excited to see a president get shot. Now I saw how many people would be excited to see me get shot. And I'm like, there's some truth there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the time to be lukewarm is over. Not that there ever was a time to be lukewarm, but
Mhm.
now is the time. We got to get fired up. We have got to be outspoken. Elon Musk made the comment at Charlie Kirk's memorial. He was the light, and darkness killed him because light exposes darkness. And
Yeah. And this is a lost
again,
man talking,
yes, exactly. And again, holy cow, that memorial service, how much the gospel was preached. How
Mhm.
many people, I saw a podcast with Chris Tomlin. He said, I never thought I would sing the song All Powers and Dominions, All Powers and Positions, Your Name Stands Above Them All. And so I'm looking out, there's Elon Musk, there's RFK, there's JD Vance, there's Donald Trump. There's literally every power in our country
Right.
right here in front of me. And I'm just proclaiming, Jesus, your name stands above them all. I'm
Mm.
getting chills just talking about it.
Yeah,
And
it's
I'm like,
amazing.
man, you think I got hate over Donald Trump? I got some hate over posting about Charlie. And it just made me sad.
There's a lot to talk about on that subject.
Oh, we could ramble for a long while about that.
But I think the main thing that people need to do is, I'm speaking particularly to Christians who are maybe frustrated with what they imagine Charlie Kirk to have been.
Mhm.
And I just want to say, go check the receipts.
Yes.
Go look at the actual content. Not what other people had to say about him. You may not have liked his policies and his views on immigration or whatever. Like those things are important.
Mhm.
They're secondary.
Yes.
His apologetic was stellar, and he
It was
was preaching the
phenomenal.
gospel everywhere he went.
I saw it firsthand. It was incredible.
Yeah. And I got some flack. We did a memorial, talking what it was the Christian view on what happened with Charlie Kirk and how should we be looking at this. And for the most part, people were supportive of that episode, but I did hear from people who probably weren't really even listening to the episode or what we talked about, who were kind of frustrated. And at the end of the day, I don't do the show to convince anybody of anything. Particularly, this is like the least political show ever. But I think it's just important for us to remember that someone who preached the gospel, who believed the gospel, who was a brother in Christ, who was way more effective at sharing his faith than many of us are, he lost his life, and it does stand as kind of, for some of us, it stands as a condemnation on our own witness, because I think a lot of people who are very frustrated about his politics, they lack the ability to see the power of his witness. They're letting their politics skew their view, and I think that's kind of a shame to let those political views get in the way of obviously what was a very impactful gospel witness in the world. So, I mean, it's a difficult conversation, but Christians deserve the right to hurt over this loss, and it does feel akin to a martyrdom, right?
Josh Howell, he said it first, and then I've studied it and I've preached it too. John the Baptist wasn't martyred. He wasn't assassinated, murdered, killed, however you want to put it, because he was preaching the gospel. It's because he spoke out against a political king and that he was living in sin. Mm-hmm. And that is why he was beheaded. And I'm like, if we're going to say Charlie wasn't a martyr, John the Baptist wasn't either. And I know that's upset a lot of people. But again, you look at it side by side, it's a very similar comparison.
The political world has veered so hard into the theological, ontological world where Christians, what is a man, right? What is a woman? Issues on abortion, issues on the value of life, right? These are areas that Christians should be experts in. Mm-hmm. And we live in a world where evil is they're imposing their evil on us systematically. And I think we have the right to have opinions or thoughts about those things. And so, I think that we try to divide the lines in funny places. I think our Christian faith should maybe impact every aspect of our life. And right. And so we maybe shouldn't get so distraught over someone who had a political view informed by their Christian worldview. Like, I don't know.
Right. No, that's silliness. Yeah. I'll kind of wrap up my thoughts on this. If nothing else, this should wake Christians up to say, I need to be bolder. I need to speak louder. The time is now. Because again, yes, there are going to be people who never listen to you. There are going to be people that hate you to the day you die. Who cares? I mean, truly, and that's something I struggle with. I've always struggled with people-pleasing syndrome. But really, it gets to a point at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is the gospel and what we do for the kingdom of God. Mm-hmm. The only thing we can take with us is our soul, and we can try to bring as many people with us as we can. And we have to be prepared. We have to be willing to die for our faith at any given moment. I told my students, because again, they're still distraught. I have a hard time just carrying on in some ways too. But I told them, I said, if Jesus, again, not saying this happened, it didn't, but if Jesus came down to Charlie and said, hey, this is what's going to happen, but I need you to go out there because there are going to be millions upon millions upon millions of people going to hear the gospel. There are going to be thousands, if not millions, who get saved. And we're going to see an outpour in churches across the world. But this is what's going to happen. Charlie would have still gotten up there because he had fully surrendered his life to Christ. Right. And we have to stop and ask ourselves, would we do the same thing? That's kind of my final thought on that.
No, it's good. And it's something that we have to continue to grapple with because we deflect so much. And I do think politics do make things convoluted, and that's why I don't engage with it. But nonetheless, we do a lot of deflecting, and we have to make the main thing. And and I think Christians need to consider that, here's a person who put their faith out on Front Street. And I think we just have to hear that call. Like, we have to do that too. We have to be about that and not be afraid of what it might cost us. So I think that's really good. Now, what was it? Maybe a month ago, this Charlie Sheen documentary came out.
Yeah.
And, he's a peculiar person. I haven't watched the documentary. I've heard a lot of people talking about it.
I've watched it.
You have. And he just led such a distressed and hard life. It's that old story about what fame does to a person.
Yeah.
But I think it's made a lot of people, his story has made a lot of people consider that God has maybe miraculously preserved his life. Like, how did he get through that?
Right.
How did he get through all these terrible things and survive? You mentioned the faith of his daughter and her coming to Christ. Tell us a little bit about Charlie Sheen and his daughter Lola. You have a story associated with that.
Yeah. I've met Charlie twice, the most recent being a month ago, right after the documentary came out. And I made a point of watching the documentary before I met him again, to brush up. Whenever somebody comes out with a book or something, I try to read it. The documentary is heartbreaking. It is very raw and unapologetic, which I prefer that. I'd rather somebody be real. Don't try to sugarcoat something. Just be real. Just be honest. And one of the biggest things that stuck out to me in the documentary, again, I appreciated him so much, just, going through his life, different things that he was quote unquote accused of, and saying, this is true, this isn't true, just shining light on that and being like, I want to be honest and open about it. But he said his first intervention, which Charlie, I love Charlie's personality. Just, he's such a funny person. But he said, my first intervention, and then he just kind of pauses and he goes, you notice I said first. That tells you already I'm pretty messed up.
Yeah,
But
right.
he said, my dad stepped out of the room and he said, son, there's somebody on the phone who wants to talk to you. And he said, I thought it was going to be some clinic or something. And he said, and it was Clint Eastwood. And he said, Clint said, hey, kid.
They did that movie, The Rookie, together.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he said, all Clint said was, hey, kid, you're worth saving. Get your act together. And he said, Clint probably thought, as he continued to see me go off the rails, that I never listened to him. I never forgot that. Am I worth saving? And then he wraps up the documentary, circling back to that moment, and he said, I guess I am worth saving. And I'm like, that's the target point. That's the talking point I want to make with him. So his daughter Lola, at the very beginning of this year, accepted Jesus Christ as her personal Lord and Savior. If you follow Lola Sheen on Instagram, it's all Jesus. Wow. All Jesus. It is phenomenal. I love it. I love following her. And her turning to Christ created quite a rift in her family, mostly with her sister. So Lola's sister, I forget her name, but she's an OnlyFans model. And she went the approach of, oh, you think you're better than us and you're judging me. And that's what she's had to deal with there. Then, of course, she's dealt with growing up with Charlie and her mom, Denise, which in that documentary, it shows how much Denise Richards truly did love, and I think still does love Charlie. And we are going to be seeing Denise in a couple of weeks in Rhode Island. So be praying for that. So Lola, of course, just continues to live for Christ, even though it has caused that rift. So when I saw Charlie last month, there was a guy in front of me, and I didn't realize it. He follows the ministry, and he didn't know who I was. I'm glad the guy in front of me did not recognize me at first. And we were in line for like 2 hours. I don't know why in the world he didn't put two and two together. But so he started talking to Charlie about Jesus. And I was like, why am I even here? But he said, and the way he did it was so classy. He said, hey, Charlie, I just wanted to congratulate you on Lola. And Charlie, being Charlie, he goes, if you're congratulating me on her birth, you're about 20 years too late. and the guy goes, no, where she accepted Jesus. And Charlie said, oh, yeah, I think that's great. I'm so glad that's working for her. And the guy said, do you think that it might work for you too? And so I'm just sitting there like, where's this going to go? And Charlie said, it's not something I'm completely closed off to. And I was like, all right, that's enough for me to still go off of. So this guy
Mm.
stepped to the side. Charlie, how you doing, man? And I said, I said, we're not together, but I'm going to basically echo him. I'm here because I love and care about you and your soul. I got you this Life Recovery Bible that integrates the 12-step program throughout scripture and devotions. And he goes, 12-step program. What's that? Why would you assume I know what that is? And I was like, don't know. Kind of a wild guess there, Charlie. And he's laughing. He's just so sarcastic and dry. But I told him, I said, I'm praying for you. I said, I am, like he said, so proud of your daughter. And I promise you, I said, I heard you say you're not completely closed off to it. I can promise you Jesus will work for you the same way it worked for her. And he said, I appreciate that. And I said, it's not religion. It's a relationship with Christ. He is who is the answer. It's nothing. It's just him. And
Yeah.
Charlie, he said, I really appreciate that. I will definitely keep this Bible with me. I'll put it in my carry-on to go on the plane today. That means a lot. Keep praying for me. I need it. I said, I know. I said, I'm praying for you. I'm rooting for you. And it was just encouraging that guy. He said, I didn't even know you were going to be here today. And I said, well, I don't really have a tour schedule. But he said, I was just at home and I was like, I don't know if Dylan is going to be at this show, but I'm going to try to tell everybody I meet about Jesus. I said, and that's what we also want to see. I'm seeing more and more of that as well. More people reaching out. I got a Bible for this person, or I talked about Jesus to this person at this anime Comic Con. And somebody said, I hope I'm not stepping on your toes. I said, what toes are there to step on? You're
Yeah, there needs to be
proclaim
1,000 of you.
Christ. And I said, it's most people do not accept Christ the first time they're presented Jesus. We need to constantly be working the soil, working the open doors and saying, God, use me. And I said, and so what if somebody hears about Jesus 5 times at the same convention? Like somebody at one show this summer, they saw me and they said, well, I guess I don't need to give such and such this tract. I said, oh, yes, you do.
Yeah.
Because every little bit counts. We're all in this together. And that has been something very encouraging. And I have a very good friend who is good friends with Lola. And he said her biggest burden is her family's salvation. And he said, I told her there's somebody who has, I hate to say targeted your family, but it's like, hey, they've prioritized your family. And she's like, the more people telling them about Jesus, the better. And that's the mindset we need to have. The more people telling our neighbor about Jesus, our friend, our family, we need every opportunity we can to use for the kingdom.
Man, that's great. Yeah, these stories are so fascinating. I know that people really love them and they're encouraged by them. And I was thinking about just if people would be inspired, maybe not to go to Comic-Cons or to celebrity events, but even just to take this same exact approach to their neighbors, people that they see on a regular basis, or the clerk at the grocery store, or someone they sit next to on a plane, or whatever it might be, chance circumstances. Man, we would be so much more effective in our faith and as a people for the gospel's sake. And if you believe, if you think the way that I think, Christ, his return is imminent, and there's a greater urgency, and I think the world is beginning to feel the onset of those labor pains as it concerns his return, and I think that we all just have to be on duty. We all have to check in and be ready to share the gospel. And I think your ministry really inspires people towards that.
Yeah, I mean, truly, one soul is worth it all, and we are running out of time. Bible very clearly says in Romans that the day of Jesus' return is nearer than when we first believed. We can't just continue to put off of, I've got time. Nobody's promised tomorrow.
Right.
I mean, again, we can look at Charlie Kirk. He was 31. I just turned 31. And again, not everybody is, living in fear of public assassination. But again, we live in a very wicked, evil world. Just look at the poor girl in Charlotte who got stabbed on that subway, and things happen.
Yeah.
And it's not something to put off. And here's what I told my students last night as I was closing my sermon. I said, People make the excuse of, I'll follow Jesus later. I want to live for me now. Why would you want to live for yourself when the creator of this universe has a perfect plan for you in your life and you're missing out on it?
Mm,
That's just for argument's sake that you will be able to have that opportunity down the road. You may
right.
not.
Right.
We have to be ready and willing to die at any moment for the cause of Christ and ask that our lives be used.
Yeah.
Say, here I am, Lord, send me, use me.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely, man. To remind everybody again how they can support you, and explain what their contributions go towards.
Yeah. So, first of all, we need your prayers. If you follow us on social media, Celebrity Evangelist is both on Facebook, Instagram. My wife set up a TikTok page, and then if you go to our website, celebrityevangelist.org, there you will find opportunities to partner with us at Comic Cons. So, like. We're getting ready to go to Rhode Island. There's another event towards the end of November that we're going to. And those opportunities, join the mission. What that is, every celebrity has a price to be able to go up to them. So besides the admission fee, you have to pay. For example, you got to pay John Cena like $300. You have to pay, Orlando Bloom $200. That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
We are not able to afford all of this on our own. So what we do is we put those opportunities on the website. And if somebody partners and says, yes, I'm going to join the mission for, I'm trying to think of somebody that's on there right now, Frank Grillo from the new Superman movie. Okay, so that is $100. That gets you the autograph from the convention. You will get the autograph. It can be personalized to you. Christmas time's coming up. You can have it personalized to somebody else. And we will give you up-to-date information as it happens, like, hey, we're in his line. Hey, we're about to share the gospel with him. When it's over, later that night, hey, here's how everything went. Thank you so much. We send out the autograph. Like I said, that pays for us to be able to get up to him. That gets you the autograph and the little behind the scenes info. Another way you can partner with the ministry, sponsor a Bible. It's also on the same Join the Mission page at the bottom. All Bibles are $35 because we get the Bibles embossed with the celebrity names. That really starts to add up over time. But because of people sponsoring, we've been able to do that for everybody this year. And
Wow.
honestly, I'm not exaggerating. We have a waiting list of over 100 people right now. And I never would have in a million years dreamed that would happen. Because we don't we don't let people say, "Oh, I want to give a Bible to Mick Jagger." There's a good chance I'm never going to see Mick Jagger, and if I start doing that, then it's going to be multiple people maybe saying the same person. So when you sponsor a Bible, it's just assigned in the order it was received. So that's one way, and then we also accept general donations, and what that goes towards is just travel cost, additional material. Like I said, one of our biggest things is when we go to these cities, the hotel cost, airfare, gas money, and all that. That's really what has started to add up more than anything else. Because I think it was 2023, I went to New York City, and we found this like apartment. I mean, I could barely turn around in it, but that was fine. I was by myself. I think I almost had to sleep standing up, I think. But we were able to do that very affordably. It was under $1,000 for, I think it was 3 days. But now, I mean, you're looking, that doesn't happen anymore. The inflation is just really taking an effect. So if you do a general donation, it goes towards travel cost, material, and additional things of that nature.
Yeah, that's great. Well, man, I hope people who are listening decide that you're a missionary worth supporting. And one of the things you and I have been talking about, especially those who follow the show and are familiar with the Living Faith Fellowship, one of the things we talked about is getting Dylan out for a mission focus conference. And so not this year, but maybe next, having him out to share about evangelism and inspire us to take evangelism more seriously.
Yeah, that'd be great. I really pray that'll happen. I hate that it wasn't able to be worked out this year. I tried to move a few things, but it was just impossible.
Yeah, no, it's all good. We'll figure out how to make it happen, because I'm sure a lot of people would love to talk to you and pick your brain about evangelism and what that looks like for you. But bro, we're thankful for you, and hopefully we'll check back in, in the next 6, 8, months or so and do another
That'd be
episode.
great.
Yeah. And we thank you guys as well for listening to all these wonderful stories. I mean, for me, it's like story time. I love it. I love listening to Dylan talk about all these interactions that he has with people that we care about, that we don't know, but we, for whatever reason, man, we care about them because we've seen them in the movies or we listen to their music. And Dylan is out there sowing seeds into the lives of people that we care about from a distance. And these are people that have influence, that people are paying attention to. And so there is a strategy, there's a methodology, and there's a strategy involved here. And so we need to pray for him. We need to lift him up. And at the same time, we also need to consider how God cares about every single soul. He cares about your neighbor. He cares about your family member. He cares about your friends. And we have to be proactive in our lives to share the gospel with the people that we have influence with. And so, man, I hope these conversations that Dylan and I have together inspire you in that way. And of course, as always, we want to invite you to like and to share the show, to write reviews, to spread, the reels and the shorts that we produce from these shows. Spread them around, share them with friends. But also, we want you to come check out Living Faith Bible Institute. We, as a school, the main thing that we care about is equipping people for the work of ministry, so that they can preach and teach the word with confidence, so that they can disciple people, so that they can reach the nations with the gospel. And we do that at a very low cost per credit hour compared to other schools. And we believe that it's as rigorous as any education that you can get and training that you can get. We want to come alongside you in your local church as you minister and provide you with an online education that will help your growth in terms of your understanding of God's word, but then also who you are and how you ought to minister in your local church and in the world. And so join us at Living Faith Bible Institute. You can visit lfbi.org for more information concerning that. But we love you. We thank you so much for the time that you've spent with us today. We can't wait to spend more time with you again next week for another episode of The Postscript. God bless. Thank you for listening to The Postscript. If you enjoy the show, please leave us a rating and review in order to help other people find our podcast. If you value this show, please help us continue creating content by supporting Living Faith Bible Institute at lfbi.org/support.